Okay, Haribo. Welcome everybody to blissful Govardhan Hill, as long as you're moving at a breakneck speed in the direction of service to Krishna. And if you're not, it's blissful Govardhan Hill in another way. But the sadhus are coming. Show you something interesting. I worked on this. Initially, I was the spiritual director for about half of it. Biography of Ayendra. I got advanced copies from the publisher. It will be the standard. No biography has been written. No biography has been written to this standard. It's a professionally written biography, glorifying Ayendra and Prabhupada's mission, and it's wonderful. Now, today I'm in a little bit of a bind because in one hotel here, 5 minutes away, Gopal Dham, I'm scheduled to class. There's a group of 150 Russians. I do it every day, every year. But what I'll try to do today is kind of summarize the rest of the Uddhava story, and then I'm going to go on to something else. I'm thinking of revisiting the story of Dhruva Maharaj. I have beautiful commentaries, Prabhupada's commentaries. I have other commentaries. Okay. Reading from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Canto 10, Chapter 47, Text 69. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevāya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevāya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevāya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevāya. Kṛṣṇāya praṇipatyāha. Bhakty-udrekaṁ vrajaukasām. Vasudevāya rāmāya. Rājñe copāyanāny adāt. After falling down to pay his homage, Uddhava described to Lord Kṛṣṇa the immense devotion of the residents of Vraja. Uddhava also described it to Vasudeva, Lord Balarāma, King Ugrasena, and presented to them the gifts of tribute he had brought with him. Thus ends the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-Udrekaṁ Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th Canto, 47th chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Song of the Bee. Om Jnana-timirandasya Ghananjana Shalakaya Taksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'm going to give now, not much time, but I'm going to try to give a summary of the story. It's about a message to the gopis, to pacify the gopis, from Krishna's intimate, beloved friend, confidant. You won't get a confidential message unless you're a confidant. Confidential message means it's not easily understood outside of your own heart and mind. So no one likes to speak something that's misunderstood. I know that myself, especially when it can be misunderstood unfavorably about you. And not just out of ego, but if someone's a spiritual person, then it may deal with matters of faith, or it's a friend that may deal with matters of friendship. So confidential matters are very rarely given easily, but they're given to this Uddhava, and it's a message to the gopis, which has two purposes. The first purpose is to pacify them, and the second purpose is he should go there and understand their love, witness it, and then communicate that. So he does go, and we're up to the part where the Krishna finally, he gives the message of Krishna. As it is, he just basically reads Krishna's message to them. The first part of the message dealt with some kind of jnanic understanding for various reasons, but then Krishna says the actual fact, the actual reason, because he's explaining why he left, is the actual reason I left is to intensify your devotion. Because, and then he gives a reason, because that which is in the mind is often closer than that which is before the eye. And absence makes the heart grow fond. And he gave an example. If a woman is missing her lover, then she's absorbed in that more. But then he tells it, by this kind of remembrance of me, Nam Rup Lila Guna, my presence is actually there. Because our separation from God is not a physical distance, it's a matter of consciousness. Because how can you be separated from God from a physical distance when God is Advayam Gyan? There's nothing outside of God. So where is God? Is he in this pillar? Hiranyakashipu challenges. God said yes. Then he took the sword out and he came. Why? Because God is everywhere. He just, mayatatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina, by my unmanifested form of everywhere. But I appear personally. But where does he appear personally? To the devotee who has love to him, he appears personally. So this is a very important message for the gopis and for us. And then he gives an example that the devotees that could not go to the rasa dance by thinking of my pastimes achieved my personal presence. This is the same message that was given to the wives of the Brahmins. And this is the message to us. Krishna is there in his pastimes, which invoke our love for him. And then the gopis become somewhat pacified. They become somewhat pacified with this inspiration to remember Krishna, and then they begin to remember Krishna. But they remember him on the prakat lila, the manifest lila, but the remembrance brings them to the unmanifest lila. So they're overwhelmed with emotion. Yes, we remember Krishna, and then their feelings come out. He's in Mathura. Is he forgetting us? Is he thinking of us? And they have this unalloyed love, and they think he'd be happier if he was in Vrindavan. So and Uddhava just is, he when he sees just their constant remembrance, their constant deep emotion. This is for us. Advanced devotees are constantly hearing about Krishna. And they enter into Krishna's pastimes and they're relieved of all their anxiety. I was just with Dorijan Prabhu and it was so nice. He was saying how His Holiness Satsvarup Maharaj is setting such a good example. He's 83 now, so he can't move any place. That's it. At a particular time, Krishna will tell you, you can't travel, you're just staying in this one place. And because I get his journal, he's just chanting and hearing all day. That's the example. Even in the Bhagavatam, it says, what is the duty of a man who's about to die? What should he not do? If you want to be fearless at the time of death, Harinam Anu Kirtanam. Chanting, and chanting means hearing. Chanting and hearing always. The more we do it, the more our heart will be satisfied. And as said in the prayers, the more we'll be free from fear. Because fear is born out of the illusion that the body is the self. And it's fortified when we dwell on the emotions that come from that illusion. But when we're actually doing spiritual activities, when we're chanting and hearing about Krishna and doing devotional service, that fortifies the conception of the soul, which is eternal. And it fortifies the conception of what the soul is, who we really are, which is a servant of Krishna, which is eternal. So Uddhava is just so amazed at what he's seen, the level of devotion that he's seen. He's just so amazed by the level of devotion he's seen. The gopis, Divyan Mada, divine madness, completely absorbed in Krishna. And then the example, or one of the things that he was amazed is when that certain gopi, which is Sri Radha, she was talking to a bumblebee, as if the bumblebee, because the bumblebee was black, was the servant of Krishna. He was seeing this. And because he was the direct disciple of Brihaspati and he knew the Shastra, even though this was kind of a new subject for him, Gopi Bhav, he had the frame of reference to understand that this was some extraordinary ecstasy. Just like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, even though he was an impersonalist, when Lord Chaitanya fainted in the Jagannath Mandir, when he first came to Puri and he saw Lord Jagannath as Lord, and he fainted, and he kindly took him to his home. He took a piece of cotton and put it by his nose, because they didn't know if he was alive or not, and saw that the breath was very, very slight, that he was still living. And that kind of subtle kind of breath, almost not breathing, but he understood from the symptoms, from his understanding of Shastra, even though he was an impersonalist, that this was a symptom of ecstasy. He may have had a different conception what the ultimate goal of life is, or what that was ecstasy of, but he had a frame of reference to understand it that an ordinary person wouldn't. So Uddhava, who was the most learned and direct disciple of Brihaspati, he could understand how advanced they were. By their absorption, spiritual life, yoga, the advancement of yoga, any type of yoga, is the degree that you are absorbed in your object of meditation. And he saw this was the supreme absorption in his object of meditation. It was so absorbed that they were seeing Krishna even when Krishna wasn't there. They were seeing the bumblebee as a servant, as a servant of Krishna. They were completely absorbed. They were so absorbed that they had no more contact with the intellectual platform. They were absorbed from the heart. And that really, he probably could have thought of the Bhagavatam, that Prema Bhakti is where you see Krishna everywhere, inside and outside. That's how Prema Bhakti is described. So he saw they were just completely absorbed. And he was a devotee, and he saw that Krishna, 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 Krishna. The spiritual sense of a disappointed lover, which is of Krishna, who had left them. He saw in that consciousness, so he was just, you have achieved the perfection. You have achieved the perfection of life. What you have achieved, no one has achieved before. Even the great sages, no one has achieved this before. And what the gopis have achieved in closeness to God was not even achieved by the goddess Lakshmi. Because of that reverence, it keeps a certain distance. But this spiritual, romantic love in separation or in union, they could not achieve your direct association. The Lord embraced you. That was the level of your intimacy. And he said, the two things in life that are hardest to give up is, it's hard for Americans sometimes to understand this, family attachment, functional family. Functional family, where I remember some people coming to Colombia. I remember when Leela Vrindavan, and we visited this one lady who's an aspiring disciple, and the father was a father, and the mother was a mother, and the mother loved the father, and the father loved the children, and the children loved and it's like, where do you see this? Where do you see this? And they would get attached. So it's not easy to give it up. I described that as a book by Richard Rohr, great book called Falling Upward. And he describes the first part of life is building the pot where the rasa of spirituality can be held. In other words, if you're not married, if you don't have children, if you don't have the proper job, you're not going to be able to think of God at all. You're just going to think about getting married. You're going to think about this. You're going to think about that. Or not every different, but you're going to think about where's your job? What is this? You're not settled. That's why one person made a point that it's an interesting point. I can't verify it, but he said, the worst thing you can do for environment right now is cut off fossil fuels. Now, his reasoning was interesting, because if you do that, it's going to raise the price of energy. And who's going to suffer most? The poor people. And the poorer you are, the less you care about the environment. Well, the poorer you are, who cares about the environment? It's the people that can think of it, not the people who can't get food and can't get. So in the same sense, the people who if you're not functional in society, it's going to be hard to think of God. So that pot is created, but after a while, the second half of life is the pot breaking and just being with the spirituality. The same thing that is a facility for spirituality at one stage of life becomes an obstacle of spirituality at another stage of life. So he's saying that attached to family, they gave it up so easily. What is the intensity of devotion? And their reputation as chaste, leaving for Krishna. They gave up their reputation as chaste. So difficult. That was, and their intensity of their love is so great that let me just be the dust of Vrindavan, a bush, a grass. So the dust. In other words, I honor that so much, what I've seen, that the lowest part of it and a particle connected to it is more than I can imagine in terms of mercy and value. So, Uddhava gives these prayers. He just wants to sing their glories. And then he stays. He stays in Vrindavan for a couple of months, just talking about the pastimes of Krishna. And what happens? It seems like a moment. And I believe the commentators say the gopis enter into the apricot lila. They're there with Krishna. Their absorption, can you imagine? It felt like a moment. Their absorption was so deep. And he went to all the places of Krishna's pastimes. And then Uddhava left, and they were incredibly separated from him because he's the representative of God. So they were incredibly separated from him. And they spontaneously, not just out of formal etiquette, but spontaneously out of love, they started bringing him gifts. And then he returns. And because he was the expert counselor, because he was the most intelligent, because he was the most learned, and because he was a beloved friend of Krishna, he was able to actually witness and assimilate what he saw, and then came and expressed it to Krishna and Lord Balarāma and King Ugrasena and Krishna's father Vasudeva. They were able to hear about that. He was able to, so he actually achieved his mission. And on Monday morning greetings, you will read my article, The Messenger of God, because that's what I'm inspired about. And yeah, it's so nice. I mean, this morning, dear Kalachandri and Yaduvendra, incredibly pious soul. I don't know anybody as pious as Yaduvendra. Very spiritually advanced, very successful in business, very close to Ayendra, disciple of Srila Radha Govinda Swami. He came to thank me and deliver the books. And tomorrow I got a nice message from Jamuna Jivana. He's a great saint. He's going to come visit me. So I feel very honored. So while I'm here in Vrindavan, I'm trying to take advantage of the very, very saintly people. And I'm trying to just be absorbed in chanting and hearing about Krishna, especially for this holy month of Kartik, where bhakti is given it says what cannot be attained outside, what can be attained outside with great effort. Prema bhakti can easily be purchased for one who follows, Kartik. So we're following it, the Kartik here. The only temptation is tons of sweets are coming to my room every day. and I'm trying not to eat sweets. And Krishna's tempting me. Even I got a whole bag of homemade chocolate chip cookies. Did you take? Were they good?
No, I didn't eat.
You'll save for later. Okay, I'm supposed to go next door, but a few people want to say hello.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hello.
Thank you for class. I really love the point of that Richard Rohr quote. It's, hi, Haribo. I hope to see you soon.
Oh, come, Radha. Come. No, I want you to see everybody. This is what happens in Vrindavan. The gopis, I've been chanting so intensely. What is your name?
My name is Radha.
Say to the people here. Say, my name is Radha. You can talk to them. Okay. I don't know. The gopis.
Haribo, Radha.
Okay, Radha, you can go. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
I don't plan this. This was, oh, you're coming here to get me, right? For the that was the translator's daughter. And she comes every day to clean my room. I can't tell you. Okay. I'm supposed to go now. You see, Mukunda is very sharp.
Maybe you go everybody together already. All the group is there.
They're already there. They must be doing kirtan, no? Okay. I have to go. Well, let me just, you want to say goodbye, Radha? Okay. Say goodbye to them.
Goodbye.
Bye, Radha.
Okay. Okay. You're going to get me in trouble.
Oh my God. Bye, Radha. You are so adorable. Oh my God.
Who's saying that?
This is Gail.
Isn't she adorable, Gail?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, these were priceless moments just now when she was hugging you.
Say hello.
Hello.
Finally. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to have to go. Radha and her father are coming to get me. Okay. Haribo. Okay.